You know what's better than one underrated find at linebacker? Two underrated finds at linebacker. And that's what South Carolina just got with linebacker David Bucey.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Gamecock Nation, and welcome to this special commitment reaction edition of the Locked On Gamecocks podcast, where we cover your South Carolina Gamecocks every single day. I'm Andrew Lyon, the host of the Locked On Gamecocks podcast, and also a staff writer for Gamecocks Digest over on SI.com. Thank y'all for making us your first listener watch here today. We are free and available both on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts daily. Shane Beamer and the coaching staff have once again unearthed a diamond in the rough on the recruiting trail, as they have now landed their third linebacker prospect of the 2024 recruiting cycle in David Bucey, or admittedly a guy that can maybe play some safety as well, depending on what the coaching staff decides to do with him once he arrives in Columbia. But nonetheless, the Gamecocks got another great find with David Bucey. Bucey's recruitment progressed pretty quickly once South Carolina got their eyes on him. David Bucey came to Columbia for a camp back on June the 9th. He really impressed South Carolina's entire coaching staff. This led to him receiving an offer from South Carolina on June the 13th. And then Bucey wound up taking an official visit to the Gamecocks on the weekend of June the 23rd through the 25th. And at some point down the road, it seemed like that he just decided, you know what, I don't need to look anywhere else. This is where home is for me. And Bucey wound up pulling the trigger and committing to Shane Beamer and the Gamecocks. Bucey committed to South Carolina over programs like Georgia Tech, Iowa State, West Virginia, and Washington State. Now, when going back and looking at the junior season highlight reel for David Bucey from Savannah Christian Preparatory School in Savannah, Georgia, athletically, Bucey is a kid that's got great footwork and acceleration, and he understands how to accelerate and decelerate, and that comes from the time that he has spent playing wide receiver for Savannah Christian Prep School. Now, positionally speaking, Bucey possesses phenomenal anticipation of a quarterback's throws when playing linebacker or safety on the defensive side. And he does this by simply just reading the quarterback's eyes from the second or third level. This allows Bucey to do a couple of things. One, it allows him to absolutely lay the wood on the opposing wide receivers. And another thing this allows Bucey to do is potentially give himself a chance to create some turnovers, to be a bit of a ball hawk because of his anticipation skills being combined with his ability to high point and catch the football. On defense, Bucey displays tackling fundamentals that he has down to a T. He leads with his shoulder into the ball carrier's torso or hip. He wraps up with his arms, and he is running his feet like the pistons of an engine. David Bucey also knows how to sift through blockers that he wants nothing to do with when he is trying to get to an opposing ball carrier or to the quarterback in the pocket. Now, a couple of other skills or traits that Bucey possesses. Bucey has showcased the ability to track the football well in the air and seamlessly catch the football as well. And again, he's developed this from the time that he has played wide receiver. The other thing that really sticks out about David Bucey that I believe could make him a fan favorite and also one of the most beloved teammates for South Carolina in the future is just how he plays. He plays much bigger than his size indicates, and I believe his size is listed at around 6 foot 200 pounds. David Bucey plays with the heart of a lion. He is a kid that gives 1,000% effort every single time he is out there on the football field. And I get it. It's not the most sexy thing to talk about when it comes to discussing a commit. But you know something in this case, I think that his work ethic truly is a difference maker for him. I think that is going to help David Bucey get very far at the collegiate level. And that leads into my overall thoughts on David Bucey and my long-term projection for his career at South Carolina. I do think that David Bucey does need to add some more weight to his frame if he's going to play linebacker, especially as he is currently listed at around 200 pounds, like I mentioned earlier. But this guy, either way, could be an absolute nightmare as a rush defender and as a guy that performs well when it comes to underneath coverage. Opposing offenses are not going to like dealing with him in the short areas of the field. My overall projection for David Bucey and his career at South Carolina, I think that this kid's going to be a special teamer guarantee in year one. And again, I think that is where he is going to gain the respect of his teammates and the admiration and love from South Carolina's football fan base. And I also do think that David Bucey does possess the abilities to be an SEC starter at a later time point in his career. I'd certainly think it would be probably 3 or 4 years or so because of the talent South Carolina is bringing in at this spot. But again, there's no doubt that either way, David Bucey is going to be a great player for special teams, which South Carolina will value significantly, and he's going to be great depth in their linebacking core. So, as I've mentioned a couple times already, this was a great find by Shane Beamer and South Carolina's defensive coaching staff. They already got Fred Johnson a couple weeks back, and they got him in basically the same fashion. And now they've done it again with David Bucey. He could play safety. I know I keep talking about him like he's going to be playing linebacker without question, but admittedly, I don't know that for sure. We'll have to find out once he gets to campus this next spring or summer. But with that being said, that's going to do it for this quick reaction edition of the Locked On Gamecocks podcast. I hope that y'all thoroughly enjoyed my thoughts on David Bucey as a player. What do you think about David Bucey? What do you think that he could do at South Carolina over the coming years? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section if you watch this on YouTube, or shoot me a direct message on Twitter at @aline_SC if you listen to this on an audio podcast app. But either way you slice it, thank you for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll be sure to catch y'all on the next show of the Locked On Gamecocks podcast.